In a world that worships distraction and comfort, few realize they are being quietly dismantled, not by enemies but by the very places they choose to dwell. You see, it is not the battlefield that destroys most men, it is the banquet hall. It is not the tyrant that breaks them, it is the comfort of mediocrity. Today I will reveal 7 dangerous places, not castles, not prisons, but invisible realms that destroy your true self. If you feel lost, if you feel like your strength is dulled, your purpose blurred, perhaps you've been living in one of them. Let us begin. In every age, there exists a kind of battlefield where men lose their souls without realizing it. Today, that battlefield is not found in war or politics. It exists in the noise that never stops, never sleeps, and never allows you to think for yourself. It hides behind the innocent glow of your screens, the chatter of your surroundings, the endless stream of opinions and distractions. It pretends to be harmless, just voices, updates, entertainment, yet it is the most efficient weapon ever created to enslave your mind. You see, in my time, kings ruled with armies and swords. Today they rule with noise. They do not need to silence you. They only need to keep you distracted long enough that you silence yourself. Every scroll, every notification, every argument you didn't start but still chose to join. It pulls your attention into chaos. And when your attention is divided, so is your strength. A man who cannot hear his own thoughts has already lost them. The world does not destroy you by force. It destroys you by volume. It speaks so loudly that your inner voice fades until you forget it ever existed. You begin to repeat what others say, think what others think, and desire what others desire. You believe you are free, but you have become an echo, an imitation of the world's noise. Listen carefully. Power does not belong to the loud. It belongs to the silent observer who listens while others shout, the one who can withdraw from the storm of voices and return to the quiet chamber of his own reason. In silence, you see the truth of things. In noise, everything blurs. But people fear silence now. They fear what it might reveal. Because when the noise stops, they must face themselves. They must face the truth that they have no independent thought, no defined direction, no sense of who they are without the validation of others. So they return to the noise, to hide, to escape from their own emptiness. There was once a time when men sought wisdom in solitude. Now they seek validation in comment sections. They measure their worth by how many strangers agree with them. Every opinion they have must be shared, must be debated, must be heard. Yet what is the point of being heard if you have nothing original to say? What is the point of speaking if you are merely repeating what the crowd already believes? Noise has replaced thought, and speed has replaced understanding. Everything must be instant. Instant news, instant opinions, instant outrage. There is no time for reflection, for depth, for stillness. You are pushed to react before you think, to consume before you comprehend. And in doing so you become predictable, easy to control. The rulers of today do not fear rebellion. They fear silence. Because in silence you cannot be manipulated. In silence you begin to see the patterns, the lies repeated, so often that they sound like truth. In silence you remember that not all opinions deserve your attention, that not every argument is worth entering, that not every noise is a call for your mind. You must understand this. Attention is currency, and noise is the marketplace. Every second you spend listening to what does not serve you, you are paying with your power. The mind is like a kingdom. When you let every voice enter its gates, soon you will not know which one rules it. A wise ruler guards his walls carefully. He chooses who may speak, and when. He does not allow chaos to dictate his command. So ask yourself, how many of your thoughts are truly your own? How many of your beliefs were chosen, not implanted? When was the last time you sat in silence long enough to hear the sound of your own reasoning? Most cannot remember. They live in a constant hum of stimulation, terrified that silence might expose how hollow they have become. Noise makes you part of the crowd. Silence makes you an individual. The crowd will never know itself, for it never stops moving, never stops shouting. But the individual, the one who withdraws, learns to see the machinery of illusion turning. He learns that power does not lie in being heard, but in understanding what is worth saying. The dangerous place is not the battlefield or the corrupt palace. It is the noise around you every day. It is in the endless updates that pull your focus from purpose. It is in the meaningless debates that waste your energy. It is in the voices that drown out your own. Every time you surrender to the noise, you surrender a little more of yourself. Yet no tyrant forces this upon you. You choose it, willingly, because silence feels uncomfortable, outdated, even lonely. But true growth always begins in discomfort. The mind cannot sharpen itself in chaos. It needs stillness, patience, reflection. That is why few people ever become powerful, because they cannot endure the silence required to meet themselves. To rule your life, you must first rule your attention. You must learn to turn away from the noise, not with contempt, but with awareness. You must learn to value the sound of your own reasoning more than the approval of the crowd. Only then can you begin to reclaim what the noise has stolen from you: your clarity, your independence, your true self. In this place, men walk willingly into their own misery. They do not see chains around their wrists, but they carry them all the same. The place of endless comparison is not built of walls or iron, but of illusion. It lives inside every glowing screen, every polished image, every false victory paraded before your eyes. It whispers to you constantly, look at them, look how far ahead they are, look what you have not become. And slowly you begin to measure your worth by standards that were never yours to begin with. In my time, men compared kingdoms and titles. Today, they compare faces, lifestyles, numbers, and illusions. The world has become a vast theater of comparison. Everyone acting powerful, everyone pretending to be fulfilled, and yet everyone secretly enslaved to the same hunger for validation. It is a silent competition that no one admits to playing, but no one dares to leave. You see, comparison is the thief of peace, but more dangerously, it is the destroyer of identity. When you live by the image of another, you forget your own reflection. You lose sight of what you truly want, because you begin chasing what looks desirable to others. You no longer move with purpose, you move with imitation. The man you could become disappears behind the man you think you should become. And the moment you fall into that trap, your true self begins to rot. It is a clever illusion. It disguises itself as motivation. You tell yourself, I only compare so I can improve. But you are not improving. You are adjusting yourself to fit someone else's story. You are molding your life to satisfy the expectations of an audience that does not even know your name. Every comparison plants the seed of inadequacy, and the more you water it, the weaker your spirit becomes. The powerful man does not measure himself by others. He measures himself by his own progress. But the modern man has been taught to look outward instead of inward. He refreshes his screen not to learn, but to see who he must outdo next. The irony is, the people he envies are just as trapped, caught in the same invisible race. Everyone is chasing everyone else, and no one knows where the finish line is. Imagine for a moment that every voice of comparison vanished. No one to impress, no one to imitate, no one to envy. Would you still know what you wanted from life? Most people would not, because their dreams were never truly theirs. They were borrowed, copied, repackaged versions of what the world told them was valuable. They do not want success. They want to be seen as successful. They do not want power. They want the image of power. And that is how comparison slowly turns kings into beggars. It makes you beg for attention, for approval, for applause. You begin to seek your worth through the eyes of others, forgetting that those same eyes are clouded with their own insecurities. The man who chases comparison will never find peace, because there will always be someone wealthier, smarter, stronger, more admired. The game has no end, only exhaustion. The tragedy is that comparison blinds you to your own potential. You start to despise the very path that could lead to your greatness, because it does not look like someone else's. You ignore your unique strength because you are too busy worshipping another's gift. And soon, the fire within you, that distinct purpose you were born with, dims under the shadow of imitation. But understand this: no man ever became powerful by copying another. The greatest rulers, thinkers, and creators did not follow the standards of their age. They defied them. They stood apart, even when it made them targets of criticism. They refused to measure their worth by the applause of the crowd. They knew that true greatness demands solitude, the courage to walk alone while others are busy comparing paths. Comparison creates dependence. You start living for recognition, not for mastery. You become addicted to being seen rather than being excellent. You lose your hunger for real growth and replace it with the shallow craving for validation. You stop asking, "What do I desire?" and start asking, "What will make me look worthy?" That is how comparison quietly destroys authenticity. It replaces self-respect with performance. You must realize that envy is not admiration. It is the confession of self-doubt. Every time you envy someone, you are declaring to yourself that you believe you cannot reach your own heights. You are kneeling before an illusion, offering your confidence as tribute. And the more you do it, the more powerless you become. When you compare, you give others authority over your happiness. You let strangers decide when you should feel proud, when you should feel ashamed, when you should feel enough, and the world gladly takes that power because a man who depends on others to feel valuable will always be easy to control. To escape this place, you must first become aware that it exists. You must see the pattern of your own envy, your own self-doubt. You must question why another's victory makes you feel smaller. You must remember that you are not meant to be a reflection of others, but the manifestation of something entirely your own. The more you look at others, the less you see yourself. The more you chase their shadows, the further you drift from your own light. Comparison is not progress. It is surrender disguised as ambition. It keeps you running in circles, applauded by no one, fulfilled by nothing, chasing an image that keeps changing faster than you can catch it. And while you compare, life moves on without you. The time you could have spent mastering your craft, building your mind, shaping your destiny, you spent watching others do it. The empire you could have built remains unclaimed, because you were too busy admiring someone else's crown. There exists a place where betrayal wears a smile, where loyalty is a costume, and where truth is measured by how comfortable it makes others feel. It is not a battlefield, not a prison, not even a throne room. It is far more subtle, the place of false brotherhood, a place where people call you friend, but only when it serves them, where alliances are formed not from trust, but from convenience. And though the air is filled with laughter and promises, beneath it lingers the scent of deceit. You may not recognize this place at first, because it feels warm, it feels welcoming. You believe you are surrounded by allies, who understand you, who share your dreams, who want your success. But wait long enough, and you will see the truth. Their smiles fade when you rise too high. Their laughter dulls when you speak your truth, and their loyalty vanishes the moment you no longer serve their interests. False brotherhood is a trap designed to keep you tame. It rewards your obedience with acceptance and punishes your individuality with silence. It teaches you to blend in, to agree, to be agreeable, because standing out threatens the balance of their illusion. They do not want your strength, they want your compliance. And the more you conform to stay accepted, the more of yourself you quietly bury. You begin to censor your thoughts to avoid offending. You dim your light to avoid overshadowing. You compromise your truth to keep the peace. But peace, built on dishonesty, is not peace. It is slow decay. These false brothers will cheer when you fail, not out of cruelty but out of relief, because your failure assures them they will not have to confront their own mediocrity. It is easy to mistake such people for allies, because they mimic the signs of loyalty. They praise you in public, they speak of unity, they act supportive. But listen carefully, true allies speak with honesty, even when it wounds. False ones speak with flattery, when it benefits. They do not want you to grow beyond them, for your growth threatens their comfort. Your independence exposes their dependence. Your courage reminds them of their fear. In the place of false brotherhood, loyalty is transactional. You are valued for what you can give. Your effort, your attention, your validation, not for who you are. The moment you withdraw those offerings, you become an outsider. And yet, many people remain there, terrified of being alone. They believe belonging to something false is better than standing alone in truth. But belonging that requires you to betray yourself is not belonging at all. It is imprisonment dressed in friendship. You will find these places everywhere, in workplaces, in social circles, in collaborations, even within families. They feed on pretense. Everyone plays a role, careful not to reveal their true thoughts. Everyone smiles while secretly calculating. And so authenticity dies. What remains is a performance, a masquerade, where no one remembers their real face. The wise man does not seek many allies. He seeks a few who understand his purpose. He knows that not all unity is sacred. Some unity exists only to suppress the strong. False brotherhood thrives on equality of weakness, a shared commitment to never rise too far, to never question too much, to never dream too boldly. The moment you do, they label you arrogant, difficult, disloyal. They will make you feel guilty for outgrowing them. They will turn your strength into a sin. But remember this, those who love you for your obedience will hate you for your independence. They will say you've changed, as if evolution were betrayal. They will try to pull you back, not out of malice, but because your transformation reminds them of their stagnation. And so they cling to their illusion of togetherness, afraid to admit that the bond was never built on truth. The place of false brotherhood thrives on one thing: fear. The fear of rejection, of standing alone, of being misunderstood. It convinces you that solitude is danger, that without their approval you will fade. But solitude is not death, it is rebirth. Only in solitude can you see who your true allies were, and who were merely shadows pretending to be light. You must observe people not by what they say, but by how they react when you no longer serve their benefit. When you succeed, when you speak truth, when you withdraw your compliance, that is when masks fall. That is when you see who remains. True brothers will rise with you. False ones will conspire against you in silence, cloaking envy in concern, resentment in advice. False brotherhood also disguises itself as loyalty to groups and causes. It tells you we must all think the same, speak the same, act the same, for unity. But that is not unity, that is uniformity. It is the death of individuality. A true brotherhood does not demand sameness, it demands honesty. It thrives not on obedience, but on mutual respect. It allows disagreement, because disagreement reveals truth. If you find yourself constantly pretending to belong, constantly silencing your opinions to be accepted, constantly walking on eggshells to maintain peace, you are not among brothers, you are among actors, and every moment spent there costs you a piece of your authenticity. The powerful man understands this. He does not fear being misunderstood. He does not chase acceptance. He chooses integrity over inclusion, because he knows that truth, though lonely at first, attracts its own kind, real allies, real loyalty, real strength. The place of false brotherhood is seductive, because it offers belonging without the pain of growth. But belonging without truth is a comfort that corrodes. It feeds your ego while starving your soul. It makes you believe you are loved, when in truth, you are merely useful. And the day you stop being useful, their affection disappears like smoke. You must learn to walk away from such circles with dignity. Do not argue. Do not explain. The man who knows his value does not beg for recognition from those who cannot see it. The more you evolve, the more such false alliances will crumble, because truth and pretense cannot coexist. Those who were drawn to your weakness will flee from your strength. There is a place where dreams quietly die, not from violence or tragedy, but from comfort. A place where the air feels safe, the ground feels steady, and nothing challenges you. It is the most deceptive prison ever built, because its walls are made of pleasure and predictability. It is the place of comfort and routine, the place where men stop growing but convince themselves they are at peace. Comfort tells you that you've earned your rest, that you deserve to take it easy. It whispers that risk is foolish, that effort is unnecessary, that tomorrow will always be there. But comfort lies. It offers you warmth only to steal your fire. It gives you stability only to drain your strength. It convinces you that safety is happiness, when in truth, safety is stagnation. In every era, the most dangerous enemy of power has not been failure. It has been comfort. Failure teaches, pain awakens, discomfort refines. But comfort numbs. It replaces hunger with contentment, drive with distraction, passion with routine. And once you fall in love with comfort, you will protect it at all costs, even if it means protecting your own mediocrity. Routine begins as order, but soon becomes a cage. You wake, you work, you rest, you repeat. The same motions, the same paths, the same thoughts. You begin to live not by intention but by habit. You convince yourself you are productive because you are busy, but busy is not the same as alive. The mind begins to dull, the heart begins to quiet, And one day you wake up and realize you have not grown in years. You have simply aged. Machiavelli would have said that a prince who grows comfortable invites his own downfall. Because when a man stops evolving, the world does not wait for him. It moves on, faster and fiercer. Those who were once beneath him rise. Those he once commanded surpass him. And he, sitting in his comfort, wonders how the world became so cruel, when in truth it was he who became too soft to face it. Comfort makes you forget struggle. And forgetting struggle is the beginning of weakness. The mind becomes fragile when it no longer faces challenge. The body becomes complacent when it no longer feels effort. The spirit becomes small when it no longer dreams of more. You start choosing the easy path in every decision, the easiest job, the easiest relationship, the easiest form of entertainment. Slowly your tolerance for difficulty fades, and with it your capacity for greatness. The irony is that people believe comfort is freedom. They believe that avoiding hardship is victory. But freedom without challenge becomes decay. Without resistance, the muscles of the mind and will lose their strength. A comfortable life might look peaceful, but it is peace without purpose. A garden where nothing grows because the soil has gone dry. Comfort breeds illusion. It tells you that you are content, when in truth you are merely sedated. It replaces your ambitions with distractions that keep you occupied enough to forget what you wanted. You sit in comfort telling yourself you could do more, be more, change more, if you really wanted to. You promise yourself you'll begin someday. But someday never comes because comfort is persuasive. It always finds a reason for you to stay exactly where you are. It is easy to see danger in chaos or struggle, but few recognize the danger in routine. Because routine wears the face of normality. It does not shout, it whispers. It tells you you're doing fine, that there's no need to rush, no need to strive. And so you stop questioning, stop pushing, stop demanding more from yourself. You mistake consistency for progress, but what you call stability is often just fear disguised as logic. The powerful understand this. They fear stagnation more than failure. They seek discomfort deliberately. Not because they enjoy pain, but because they understand its purpose. They know that comfort builds complacency, and complacency invites defeat. Growth is not found in ease, it is forged in resistance. You cannot sharpen a blade without friction, and you cannot strengthen a soul without challenge. The world quietly rewards those who chase comfort, but secretly respects those who reject it. Because true power belongs to those who remain hungry, even when full. Those who rise early when no one demands it. Those who step into the unknown, while others cling to the familiar. Those who keep building even when no one is watching. Routine is seductive because it makes you feel safe. It tells you you're in control. But control without change is illusion. You may feel stable today, but the world is shifting beneath you. Technology evolves. Ideas evolve. People evolve. If you stand still, you fall behind. Comfort convinces you that stillness is peace. It isn't. Stillness when unchosen is surrender. There are two kinds of people. Those who build comfort, and those who outgrow it. The first cling to it, decorating their cages, pretending it's freedom. The second destroy it, and rebuild stronger walls around greater challenges. The second understand that comfort is temporary, a place to rest, not to live. If you look closely, comfort always asks for something in return. It demands your ambition, your curiosity, your drive. It drains your will to question the path you're on. And the longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to leave. Comfort dulls the hunger that once made you move mountains. You start to crave less, expect less, and eventually you become less. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something that truly scared you? When was the last time you challenged yourself beyond what was easy? When was the last time you felt alive? Not entertained, not distracted, but truly alive. If you cannot remember, you have already stepped too deep into the place of comfort and routine. Comfort feels gentle, but it demands a high price. Your potential. It is the silent grave of ambition, the slow death of every dream too fragile to survive in stillness. It promises peace, but only delivers emptiness, because without the friction of challenge, the human spirit forgets what it was meant to become. There is a place where purpose dissolves into fragments, where attention, the very essence of power, is stolen piece by piece. It is not loud like chaos, nor violent like war, but it kills just as effectively. It is the place of distraction, the modern kingdom where every second of your awareness is currency, and you are its most obedient spender. Distraction wears a beautiful face. It promises pleasure, convenience, escape. It calls to you in moments of boredom and whispers, just for a minute. But that minute becomes an hour, and that hour becomes your habit, and soon your life becomes a collection of interrupted moments, fragments of time that never built anything real. You tell yourself you are busy, but you are only scattered. You tell yourself you are informed, but you are only overwhelmed. You tell yourself you are entertained, but you are quietly wasting the one thing you can never recover, your focus. Focus is power. Distraction is surrender. Every empire that ever fell not because it lacked soldiers or gold, but because its rulers became complacent, distracted by pleasure, by vanity, by comfort. The same principle governs the human mind. The distracted man cannot rule himself. He becomes a slave to impulse, reacting to every stimulus the world throws his way. He checks, he scrolls, he clicks, he watches, always consuming, never creating. The architects of distraction understand this well. They know that control no longer requires force, it requires your attention. If they can keep you entertained, they can keep you docile. You will not rise, you will not question, you will not build. You will only consume what they feed you, and you will even thank them for it, calling it freedom. The truth is, distraction does not steal your time. It steals your direction. It makes you drift aimlessly through your days, never fully present in any moment. You start a task and abandon it halfway. You chase an idea and lose it to a notification. You begin to read, but your mind wanders. You are everywhere and nowhere. You exist in fragments, and with each distraction your ability to think deeply weakens, your capacity for mastery diminishes, your strength of will fades. You cannot build greatness in fragments. You cannot shape destiny in half-focus. Every great mind of history, every thinker, leader, creator, guarded their attention as their most sacred treasure. They understood that focus is not merely discipline, it is identity. You become what you repeatedly give your attention to. And when your attention is scattered, your identity is scattered with it. Distraction is not always entertainment. Sometimes it disguises itself as productivity, endless planning, constant checking, busy schedules filled with nothing of substance. You convince yourself that motion equals progress, but you are only spinning faster in the same circle. The distracted man mistakes activity for achievement. He measures his worth by how occupied he is, not by what he has accomplished. The modern world feeds on this illusion. It rewards distraction. Every platform, every advertisement, every headline is designed to hijack your instincts. They know that a focused mind is dangerous. It questions, it builds, it resists. So they flood your world with noise to keep your focus diluted, your strength divided. You become addicted to stimulation, unable to sit still, unable to think without a screen flickering in front of you. And yet, within silence, lies your power. The ability to direct your attention, to choose what deserves your mind. That is the mark of true sovereignty. Most people believe their thoughts are free, but their attention is enslaved. They do not decide what to think about. The world decides for them. They react, endlessly, reacting, never creating. They live on the surface of life, afraid of the stillness that would reveal how empty they've become. Distraction is not neutral. Every time you surrender to it, you lose an opportunity to build something real, to learn, to grow, to connect. You lose hours that could have been used to shape your destiny. And the cruelest part is that you don't even notice the loss until it's too late. Distraction doesn't announce its damage. It seeps in quietly, day by day, until your focus is so fractured, you can no longer hold one thought long enough to make it powerful. The mind thrives on depth. It wants immersion, intensity, purpose. But distraction trains it for shallowness. 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there. Soon you cannot read deeply, cannot listen deeply, cannot love deeply. Your attention becomes shallow, and so does your life. A distracted man cannot rule a nation, a business, or even his own emotions. He is pulled by every impulse, swayed by every opinion, trapped in endless reaction. He becomes predictable, and what is predictable can always be controlled. The rulers of this world do not fear the angry, they fear the focused. Anger is noise, focus is direction. Anger burns fast, focus endures. The most dangerous illusion of distraction is that it feels harmless. You think, what harm is there in checking once more, in scrolling a little longer? But those moments compound. They shape who you become. Because every distraction you indulge trains your mind to flee discomfort, to seek instant pleasure, to avoid discipline. And a man who cannot stay still long enough to face his own boredom will never create anything of worth. In the place of distraction, everything calls for your attention, and nothing deserves it. You are fed an infinite stream of choices, none of which matter. You are told you must keep up, stay updated, stay connected. But connected to what? To whom? The world does not care that you are distracted. It profits from it. It grows stronger as you grow weaker, more fragmented, more forgetful of your true direction. If you do not choose where your mind will go, someone else will, and they already have. Every distraction you entertain is a thread tying you to someone else's purpose. And while you chase what glitters, your true calling waits in silence, unseen, unheard, abandoned. There exists a place where truth bends under the weight of perception, where people trade authenticity for approval, and where the eyes of others become more powerful than one's own will. It is the place of judgment, the invisible court where everyone is both the accused and the accuser. Here no one lives for themselves. They live for applause, validation, and the illusion of acceptance. From the moment you enter this world, they teach you to fear judgment. They tell you to behave, to fit in, to say what pleases others. You learn early that standing apart invites criticism, that truth is dangerous, and that silence is safer than honesty. You grow up watching how others react, shaping your every move to avoid disapproval. By the time you become an adult, you are no longer a person, you are a performance. The place of judgment thrives on fear. The fear of being rejected, mocked, misunderstood. It feeds on your desire to belong. It convinces you that the opinions of strangers matter more than the voice of your own conscience. You begin to live as if every decision were being watched by invisible spectators, as if your worth depended on how well you please them. And slowly you become what they want you to be, not what you were meant to be. This is the tragedy of modern existence. People are no longer free. They are curated. Every word, every image, every opinion is filtered to maintain a reputation that doesn't even belong to them. The digital world has turned judgment into a spectacle. People fear being cancelled, ridiculed, forgotten, so they conform. They bow. They silence themselves before anyone else can. But submission disguised as politeness is still submission. In the place of judgment, truth becomes dangerous because it offends comfort. People don't want honesty. They want affirmation. They don't want to see themselves. They want to be told they are right. And if you dare to challenge that illusion, they turn against you, not because you are wrong, but because you make them face what they wish to ignore. Machiavelli would have called this the court of the weak, a realm where men seek approval from those who have achieved nothing. The judgment of the crowd has always been shallow, but now it has become absolute. People live in fear of whispers, of comments, of imaginary disapproval from faces they will never meet. They think they are protecting their reputation, but they are only sacrificing their freedom. A man who fears judgment can never speak with conviction. He weighs every word, wondering how it will sound, who it will offend, what it will cost him. He becomes a shadow of himself, careful, cautious, controlled. But a life spent pleasing everyone is a life spent serving no one. You cannot lead if you are afraid to stand alone. You cannot build if you fear that others might not approve. Every act of courage begins with the defiance of judgment. Every truth ever spoken was first met with mockery. Every great idea was once called madness. The crowd has never rewarded originality. It rewards obedience. It applauds what it understands and condemns what it does not. But if you wait for their permission to be real, you will die waiting. Judgment does not come only from others. It grows within you. Over time, you internalize the critic. You begin to watch yourself through the eyes of the world. You hesitate before taking a risk, before speaking your truth, before being different. You censor yourself because you imagine the laughter before it even happens. The voice of the world becomes the voice in your head, and you call it reason. But it is not reason. It is fear disguised as wisdom. Ask yourself, who are you when no one is watching? What truths would you speak if no one could mock you? What path would you walk if applause no longer mattered? These questions terrify most people because the answers would demand change, and change invites judgment. So they hide behind the comfort of conformity, hoping the world will love them for blending in. But the world only respects those who dare to stand out. In the place of judgment, people destroy their authenticity in exchange for belonging. They wear the same clothes, use the same words, mimic the same values, all to avoid being labeled strange. But what is stranger? To live as yourself and be judged, or to live as a copy and be forgotten? The crowd praises conformity, but secretly, it envies the one who dares to be free. Because deep down, every man knows that true freedom comes only when judgment loses its power. To resist this place, you must accept something most people never will. That being disliked is not failure. Being misunderstood is not defeat. The more authentic you become, the more you will provoke discomfort. Your honesty will expose lies. Your independence will offend dependence. Your self-respect will threaten those who rely on approval to survive. The powerful man does not measure his worth by applause. He measures it by alignment, whether his actions serve his principles, whether his words reflect his truth. He does not speak to please the crowd. He speaks to awaken it. And though the crowd may mock him, it cannot move him, because he knows that judgment only has power over those who seek to escape it. The crowd will always talk. They talked about kings, prophets, philosophers, revolutionaries, and they will talk about you. Let them. Their noise means nothing unless you let it. Their words only define you if you live by them. The moment you stop fearing their opinion, you reclaim your power. The moment you act without seeking approval, you begin to live as yourself, not as their reflection. And yet, most will never escape. They will live in constant performance, exhausting themselves trying to please an audience that never claps loud enough. They will spend their lives pretending to be good, respectable, acceptable, until one day, they realize that the person they've been protecting never truly existed. There is a place that feels warm, safe, and inviting. A place that promises peace, rest, and ease. But beneath its gentle surface hides decay. It is the place of comfort, the most seductive prison ever built. It whispers to you that you have done enough, that you deserve rest, that risk is for fools, and discomfort for the desperate. It tells you to stay where you are, to settle, to enjoy the small pleasures you already possess. And while you rest, it begins to rot your strength from the inside. Comfort is not evil, but it is cunning. It does not destroy you violently. It destroys you quietly. It doesn't take your crown. It convinces you to lay it down. The man in comfort no longer hungers for greatness. He no longer feels the fire of ambition, the sting of challenge, the fear of failure. He grows numb, content with mediocrity disguised as peace. And in that numbness he loses what made him powerful, his drive, his edge, his hunger to evolve. Machiavelli once said that fortune favors the bold, but comfort kills boldness. It makes you cautious, complacent, unwilling to act. It whispers that risk is dangerous, but the truth is the opposite. Comfort is the most dangerous risk of all, because while you sleep, others move. While you hesitate, others build. While you hide in safety, the world changes, and it leaves you behind. The place of comfort is deceptive, because it feels like success. You reach a point in life where things finally seem stable. You have what you once desired: money, reputation, routine. You tell yourself you've arrived. But the moment you stop growing, you start dying. Stagnation wears the mask of peace. You think you're resting, but you're rusting. The edge that once made you sharp dulls, and the world does not wait for dull men. Comfort teaches you to avoid challenge. You start to fear discomfort the way the weak fear pain. But discomfort is the furnace in which power is forged. Every moment of hardship, every failure, every struggle sharpens you. Comfort removes that sharpening. It keeps you soft, fragile, easily broken. You begin to protect your comfort more than your purpose. And once that happens, your destiny begins to fade. The rulers of the world understand the power of comfort as a weapon. They know that people who are comfortable do not rebel. They do not think deeply, they do not question authority, they do not demand change. They cling to what little comfort they have. Even if it means surrendering freedom, they become predictable, manageable, docile. History shows this pattern over and over. Empires fall not when they are poor, but when they are too comfortable to fight for survival. Look around you, comfort has become the new god. People worship convenience. They choose the easy path, the fast reward, the shortcut. They avoid anything that requires patience or pain. They want results without the process, power without struggle, wisdom without suffering. But nature does not work that way. Growth demands friction. Muscles strengthen through resistance. Minds expand through challenge. Souls evolve through trial. Comfort denies you all three. The comfortable man becomes a shadow of his potential. He spends his days chasing pleasure instead of progress. His fears grow larger because he no longer tests them. His will weakens because he no longer exercises it. The world shrinks around him, and he mistakes safety for happiness. But happiness that costs your growth is only disguised despair. The emptiness will come, quiet, slow, creeping, until one day he looks back and wonders when his hunger died. Comfort has many forms. It can be the security of a steady job that kills your ambition. It can be the approval of others that keeps you from speaking your truth. It can be the luxury of routine that keeps you from seeking adventure. It can even be emotional comfort, the stories you tell yourself to justify not changing. You say, "I'm fine where I am," when deep down you know you are not. True power requires friction. You cannot become strong without struggle. You cannot become wise without error. You cannot become free without discomfort. The man who embraces discomfort becomes unbreakable because he no longer fears pain. But the man who seeks only comfort becomes fragile. The slightest storm will destroy him. In every age, comfort has been the silent killer of greatness. The warriors who win too easily forget how to fight. The thinkers who are praised too early stop questioning. The rulers who sit too long on their thrones forget what it means to conquer. They become victims of their own success. They drown in the luxury that was meant to reward them. Comfort becomes the weapon that ends them. You see, the pursuit of comfort is the denial of growth. The mind that seeks ease cannot hold mastery. The spirit that avoids struggle cannot command destiny. Every time you choose what feels good over what is necessary, you trade long-term power for short-term pleasure. And those trades always end in weakness. Machiavelli understood that to rule oneself is the greatest form of leadership. But how can you rule yourself when your every decision is ruled by comfort? The powerful man knows that discipline is more precious than peace, because peace without progress is decay. He chooses the difficult road not because he enjoys pain, but because he understands that only through difficulty can one become something greater. In the place of comfort, nothing grows, dreams stagnate, passions fade, purpose withers. You begin to confuse stillness with satisfaction, silence with serenity, and emptiness with rest. But comfort that does not serve growth is not peace, it is slow surrender. And once you surrender to it, it becomes almost impossible to escape. Because the more comfort you have, the more you fear losing it. You begin to protect your mediocrity as if it were a treasure. You avoid risk, avoid confrontation, avoid anything that might disturb the fragile illusion of control you've built around yourself. And in doing so, you build your own cage, polishing its walls while convincing yourself that you are free.